next thing I want to show you is probably one of my favorite features that they added. I actually spent probably at least a month trying to figure out how to set this up myself, and almost exposed the shell of my main computer to the internet with no guardrails in doing so, because I thought, oh, I've heard of this thing called port forwarding. That'll let me access my terminal. I'm doing so much with my terminal here and using Claude Code in the CLI, but I hate that I can only do it when I'm at home. I want to be able to do this when I am on the road, and I want to be able to just sort of send text via my phone to see it happen on the computer. How hard can that be? And so I spent a month trying to come up with an idea, a way of remote accessing my terminal. And unbeknownst to me, a beginner, I became very close and pretty much did very, very dangerously expose. I got it to work, but I exposed the shell of my machine to the internet with very little protections. Luckily, I came to my senses in time and nothing happened. But around that same time that I had gotten it to work, Anthropic, of course, released the remote control feature. And especially, this is going to be especially useful to those of you who are still a little uncomfortable working in the terminal, or maybe you are used to the interface or the UI that Anthropic has provided on Claude Code. Same thing with Codex. I don't know if they have their remote control. I definitely don't think Gemini has it. But one of the beautiful things that this does is watch. So if I type in here, first I'm going to rename this session, and I'm going to name it remote. And then I'm going to give it a color because I think that's fun. I'm going to go with yellow. Now we can see it's named remote here. But over here, if I go back to the web and I want to interact with the Claude Code web over here, the only thing I can do is I can do a new session and I can choose my repositories. But these are only the ones on GitHub. If I'm working on something locally and I want to work on this remotely, I can't access my remote computer. But with remote control, I can. So if I type /remote-control and I click OK, we see remote control active. And now when I go back to the web, we see, boom, we see a remote session here. And you see this little green dot here, indicating that it's online. You can also see it down at the bottom. It shows that this cloud session is connected. And if I pull these both up at the same time, you'll see that when I type, let's see if I can go here and here. When I type in here, and I can do this from my phone, if I type hello, the hello appears in the terminal. And if I do it on my phone, I can access this on my phone from wherever I am. Hi, this is the Legion 2025 session, ready to go. What are you working on? Just showing people how remote works. Standing by for a demo. Wait, no emojis. Standing by. So you can see back and forth here that this is pretty much real time. You can change the model still. You can add files. And what people really find useful about this is the fact that you can, from your phone, I'll do it from my phone while we're sitting here, and I can upload a photo from my phone. I'll use this image of Claude as on the side of a vape Claude. And I send it, and boom, there's an image of Claude on the vape. And that image has been registered here, and it's been registered in the terminal. This is an incredibly powerful feature that will allow you to not just take advantage of the fact that you can trigger Claude from your phone, but you can actually run and keep this running if you don't let your computer sleep, or maybe you set up Wake on LAN if you're that advanced. You can actually still continue to have it process things on your machine through the mobile app, or I'm sorry, the mobile web, and on the go. So this is incredibly useful. You can pick up your sessions where you left off, whether you're on your phone or you are at home on your machine. It's time to wrap up, and we've come to the end of the last module in this course, and I've had a lot of fun making this. It's also been very stressful for me making this because, of course, every time you try to demo one of these godforsaken large language models, CLI agents, supercomputer, hacker, code machine, genies in a bottle, they love to break. Demo day is, they can smell it, they can feel it, they know to just do everything wrong. So over the hours that I've spent doing this, it's been really useful, not just to sort of continue to debug these tools, which are to this day
still incredibly new. But it's also been really useful to sort of have to force myself to return to base first principles because, believe it or not, Claude Code has only been out for a little over a year. And I say that because, number one, no one knows what they're doing. We're all sort of scraping around in the dark. There are major disruptions that are happening with these tools, but you are still so early. And I cannot stress this enough. You are early. If you feel like you're behind, I swear, I promise you are very early. And the fact that you are willing to invest this time, effort, and money into not just getting familiar with the bots, but learning how to properly manage and understand and get better at your computer and with the tools at hand. This is something that I think a lot of people, they're stuck between the journalist or the coder. And I think a better stand-in for the role that a lot of you are going to be playing if you decide to continue your experiments with this technology is less of a coder or less of a journalist and more of a product manager or a project manager. Now, I know those things have different connotations depending on what field you're in, but what I mean by that is the mentality and the role that you have to assume is not someone who is going to be involved in the little details of every step. And it's also not someone who is completely checked out of one end or the other, whether it's media and content or coding and development. You are sort of in between. You have to be able to talk to computers and talk to people. And now with these tools, you can not only talk to your computer, but you can get it to do things for you. And you can do that in the service of being able to free yourself up to spend more time listening, engaging, going out and being amongst the community, reporting, editing, doing the kind of things that make your work and our lives better, while the computer is there in the background serving in an augmentative or assistive capacity. And as long as you stay focused on that and you understand that human experience and judgment and the millions of choices, actual decisions that go into every step of the process for the work that you do and the products and output that you produce, that is what is going to make this thing matter. If you don't give enough of a shit to make it or at least review it yourself, I don't think you can expect anyone else to give enough of a shit to consume it or care about it or pay attention to it. So while there are vibe coders and slop cannons abound, they're everywhere, just because these tools are this powerful doesn't mean you have to use them in this sort of casual, distracted, and detached way that people associate with these tools. Use them to do your work better, use them to help and reach more people, use them to make your life and the life of other people around you easier and more comfortable and more secure. Do not use them as a way to take shortcuts or to cheat, obviously, or to take the easy way. As much as that may seem like the only path forward, it is not. And so as these tools get more powerful, this is why I say that the editorial judgment gets harder, not easier. That the human in the loop principle from this course, and that you've probably heard everywhere, it doesn't go away. It gets more important, and there will be a larger premium placed on the human interaction and human contributions, because when anybody can produce the slop, then it doesn't matter and nothing you make is special. You have to find a way to break through that noise and differentiate yourself from everyone else who has the same access to this slop shotgun that everyone has been handed for the low cost of $20 a month, and in Gemini's case for free. And so it doesn't matter what tool there is. They release a new model or a new feature, or we're introducing this. We're excited for this. We are so proud to announce this every single week. Nobody can keep track of it. Everyone's drowning. But what's important is understanding the principles, the theory behind it. Having an analytical framework, a perspective on what you're going to do with these tools is what gives it value and what makes what you're doing interesting. Everything else is just slop and noise. The biggest takeaway I think I want you to have as you leave this course or as you review the 4 modules of content that we've provided here is that when it comes to evaluating these tools and determining whether or not they are the right tool for the task at hand, it can be really tempting to go do a feature-by-feature comparison, which of course will be stale within months. And instead, I think you should ask yourself 4 questions. 1, what is the task? What am I trying to do here? What does that look like? And what is a good outcome? Number 2, how much context does this task need? What information do I need to gather, collect, clean, organize, and provide to these agents or to this tool in order for it to achieve and accomplish the task effectively? And I like to say you should think about this in a similar way that if you had a junior employee or a coworker who was just coming onto your project or your beat, and you want to make sure that they have all the tools and all of the resources available to them so they can sort of access that institutional knowledge and memory that you've built up over your career or over your time covering that area. But you don't want to overload them to the point where they're confused about what is actually important and what they should really focus on. Number 3, do I need access to tools? Do I need the agent that I am working with to be able to access tools like Firecrawl, databases like Airtable or Firebase or Supabase? Any of these tools, YTDLP, FFmpeg, what kind of gear do I need? And what kind of access or permissions and credentials do I need to provide the agent in order for it to access and use those tools effectively? And number 4, how cost sensitive am I or are you in the pursuit of my goals for the task at hand? Am I willing to spend $10, $15, $20, $100 on various services or one-off runs? Do I need to rent some GPUs? What do I need and how much am I willing to spend to get it in order to accomplish my goals? What is my budget? Not just token budget, but real money budget. And I think for most journalism tasks, any of these tools that I've shown you, whether it's Claude Code or Codex or Gemini or maybe even Sonnet instead of Opus, most journalism tasks, especially the ones, for those of you who are focusing on the sort of behind the scenes, the publishing, the internal tool set, the analysis and the research stuff, most of these tools will be sufficient to achieve your goals. It's just a matter of which one works best for you and which one needs to be deployed at what time. Whether you're dealing with long documents or complex multi-step reasoning, or you need really structured, reliable outputs, it's about how comfortable you are with the tool that you are using and whether or not you know about and have access to other tools that you can bring in to fill those gaps. And I think the real thing here is that I want you to try more than one tool. I know we've spent this entire course focusing on Claude Code. Part of that is because my job gives me access to the $200 a month max plan, and I feel like I would be neglecting my obligations to my organization if I were to just start dabbling in every other tool. But also, I've tried the other tools, and I do think that certain tools have certain values, but it's up to you. You know what your beat requires. You know what your job or your task at hand requires. And it's up to you to develop your own sense, your own feel and perspective on which tools work best for you. You don't need to get stuck or feel loyal to one methodology or one agent or one tool. And it's okay to play around and see what works best for you so that when it comes time for something that is really important, you know where your minimum viable effectiveness is and you can fall back and use that tool.